Nancy. Lord JM very low, gonna go down. Not enough damage on that Edith despite the ult. Lord still standing. Zaida and Yawi holding their ground. Turtle gonna be secured here by Twisted Mind. And the punish on the Yawi. Third legal by Escalera. Not sure if they want to pick this fight. That's a win for Twisted.
That's tough because, you know, I was just saying that. They're going to have to commit to those fights. And I guess at least for the early game, they answered the question, is that focus enough to stand front side? Well, it looked like it was.
Yep, and actually for that particular team fight, it wasn't entirely Twisted Minds deciding to start it first. TNC, that was a well-coordinated engage coming in from both Lord JM and as well as Yawi. But of course, we've seen the flicker being forced out early on and Twisted Minds responding immediately to that engage. So TNC, they've lost resources prior in that fight, and Twisted Minds sustained overall. It was just too much to handle for TNC. Not even their lineup right now had enough burst damage to deal with all these members together with that formation that really favors them in that team fight.
Despite the loss on the major objective, I'd reckon TNC are still on course here. Zaida catches James.
Whoa.
Lord JM, very low. Primal Rat coming through. Where's the damage? James jumping onto him. Lancy from the flank. Can they finish the job? Zaida holding his ground with the sever. Is that enough? Here comes GC and Yawi from the sidelines. James falls. That's a 1-for-1 trade. XP laners down. Yawi jumping in. Point blank. He's going to push back MP the King. Close call both sides.
Wow, Yawi actually survived that, was trying to wait to allow Zaida to come in. Not able to get it, but Escalera, okay, he's going to scout this out, but he's going to go back. What a team fight there, Britt.
Yeah, in the normal circumstances, you wouldn't consider doing the Raging, you're using the Raging Sandstorm anymore to stay in that fight, but down bottom!
1v1, Cozy outplayed! Can't outplay! Outplay! Yes, but not can finish it. Outplayed! Gets taken down! Yawi took it personal!
The Ducati ran out of gas!
Oh my goodness, this is exactly what we've been saying. The fast rotations coming in from TNC, and for 2 consecutive team fights, it's that quick rotation and ability to respond which allowed them to not completely let Twisted Minds take the lead.
Time to go to the turtle, says TNC, pulling it over. Massive man advantage. Other side of the wall. Twisted Minds trying to come through. Guiding wins by Escalera. James coming through. There's the take, the secure, and the shields. Yawi's going to get sacrificed here alongside Lord JM. He does get the back off. Outplayed in Escalera, pushing them back. TNC suffering a loss, but secures a turtle.
Yep. At the very least, TNC complete all together in that objective take, just took what they had to. Checking out the items and the gold as early as now, it does feel like they're still trying to manage, but wait. Okay.
Oh, man, okay, he keeps the turret together. But, man, as you were saying, you know, they get the turtle out of that, and you have to commend to what's happening here. They're still maintaining pretty much equilibrium, but it looks like Twisted Minds wants to make a play. They at least want to get this turret down. That they will do, but TNC will continue to farm around the map and find what they can.
Long-term trade here set up by Twisted Minds, despite losing men, are able to set up great on the map. Mid lane seems to be next up on the docket. A turtle up in a minute. TNC engaging via Zaida. Let it go. Escalera keeping the border safe.
Yep, this is going really good for Twisted Minds in the early stages of the game. Aside the fact that Outplayed is actually able to play really well in the lane up against Kozen, and we've seen it earlier. They're actually able to focus a bit more of their attention towards rotating to Outplayed, and now it's rewarding them clearly. They've switched up the lanes. Outplayed now up top. So for TNC, it's surprising to see that they're the ones being sort of read out. It's interesting because TNC for the longest time have been playing an absolutely clean early game, but now Twisted Minds, now they're up top too.
Circling Eagle set in by Escalera. Lord J might fall here, and he does alongside the turret. Clean take by Twisted Minds. Nothing on the board for TNC so far. Here comes the reinforcements. Down goes Lancy. Turned off for Escalera and James. 2 for 2 so far. And down bottom, Kozen untouched.
Good response. Looks like they're going to go ahead and just take their route to the turtle now. Kozen will go ahead and help them out for this, but it was a trade even there, and it was good use for Twisted Minds. You know, they had all that utility. They brought it up top, but then Lancey bought enough time to let the rest of the response come through for TNC. So again, all this leads to nearly an even game right now, at least at this point. You know, still working on some of the turrets. There is that turret advantage right now for Twisted Minds, but looking at the items, are they falling into place for both teams here?
Yep, so far, even just the Yawi, looking at his first item, which is the Athena's Shield, it allows them to actually engage in team fights a lot more against Twisted Minds, since most or majority of their early game damage is, again, coming in from their mages, from their jungler and Escalera too, a bit of it from Escalera. So he's able to sustain it a bit more, unlike what we've seen in the first team fight during that first turtle. So now they're a bit more equipped to fight, and with that Skypiercer pickup as well from Kuzen, they're gradually able to find the openings up against Twisted Minds.
That's what allowed TNC to get this 2,000 gold lead here. Despite losing out a majority of the engagements, across the map, Zaizen has been doing work. The gold is in the right place for TNC, and they're dealing the right kind of damage and giving the bodies that can afford them to do this.
Okay, they're actually going to go ahead and just try to take this, but they're gonna, Lord Jam has to flicker out. Pops a Primal Wrath, they might have to respond.
Here comes Yawi from the flank. 4 members of Twisted Minds respecting the propensity of the lover boy to get a fight from out of nowhere, and it just they escalates.
You notice what's happening here too, right? They're continuing to put pressure on the map, but now they've gotten themselves a little bit of a lead first time in this game.
Yep, but Twisted Minds, they have to be extra careful, because even when they consistently rotate together and try to look for the engages, Yawi and Lancey has that tendency to go for the sandwich plays, always make them think twice about wherever they're currently positioned up against TNC, because there's a chance that they can fight up against the 5-man lineup of TNC, such as now.
Yawi engaging, using that Rampaging Sandstorm to retreat. Quicksand Guard to survive. James jumping in, accepting the salvo from TNC. He goes down, traded out for Lord JM. Zaida holding on. Look at the iframes on that Julian.
Yeah, it saved MP the King so many times.
That's what I was talking about.
In this entire game. And TNC, once they're forced to run away, disengage, they wouldn't want to chase after them anymore.
And suddenly, it's quiet. This is dangerous. TNC's planning something. Zaida holding on to this small camp down bottom in that brush, watching the Lord get reset. And both teams just waiting for the dance to start. Neither one took the first move. Escalera spotted by Yawi.
It's going to spot him out for now. Again, it was positioning that they wanted to go for it. They go ahead and reform and recollect, but they know, honestly, at this point, it could go either way for the First Lord, and neither team wants to be the losers of that fight. Now, the focus could be maybe the mid lane turrets.
TNC has to be extra careful, though. Their sustain or their frontliners, at this point, even despite the Athena shield pickup, can be potentially easily bursted down by Twisted Minds, and that's been a trend since earlier.
Escalera down to a third of his health, jumps in to a death brush. Lord J bursted so quickly. Yawi doesn't survive. MP gets a kill, and the rest of them feel the magic damage. Zaida coming through, cuts a line between them and the teams, forcing their way through. 3 for none so far, and it's a clean take for Twisted.
That's exactly what I mentioned. At this point, Twisted Minds just can take on any person they decide to take on from TNC. And those were the 2 tanky frontliners too.
Zaizen holding on for dear life. They cannot change the fact that numbers are not on their side. 4 take 1, Zaida falls alongside that tier 1 in mid and that tier 2 in the bottom lane.
This is such a good game for Nearthel, for Outplayed, because he's able to go ahead and just rely on his team to be at the front. I mean, look at MP the King himself, being on that front side. Lord JM.
And the flicker, the onward, the earth shatter, Outplayed falls. Kozen gets a kill. Escalera trying to de-escalate the situation, disperse TNC, and they will take Lord JM down. 1 for 1 the trade. Zaida following through. Lord smashes through that holy shield up top.
They gotta wait for this. They're gonna have to deal with the Lord. They do. But man, what again, an interesting fight there, Britt.
Yes. That was a very decisive engage coming in from Lord JM and Yawi. At this point, I think they're just accepting the fact that they have to just do their jobs, go in for the setups, and sustain as much as they can despite the very high amount of damage coming in from Twisted Minds. As you can see right here, it was just MP the Kim going on with those basic attacks onto Lord JM. And you would think that Edith would be the perfect fit for that job to buy some time. But even despite that, even despite Edith and its very own kit, Twisted Minds, just looking at the items, just looking at MP the King, you wouldn't want to go near that Julian. It's so hard to take him down, even also with the Rose Gold Meteor concentrated energy pickups. And most importantly, it's not just the iframes you need to worry about. Even the Blood Wings, which will allow him an additional boost of movement speed just when you catch him off guard.
That's part of the problem here for TNC. They did just pick up 2 Sea Halberts over here for the lineup that they have, but it seems to be the problem is actually able to get through that sustainability, get through that tankiness that Twisted Minds has right now. Even for MB the King, again, this is what most people have witnessed and felt in their ranked games, and now this is the first time that we see Julian come through for the MPL Philippines match, and it seems to be working really well with the play style and the way that they want to work around MP the King. He can be a little aggressive, he can be a little forefront because he knows that, okay, I've got this kit, but not only that, I've got Escalera to get me out of dodge. And James, man, he's been doing work on this Volvius pick, and when he has Vengeance available, he feels even more confident to just go 1 versus 5 if he has to.
Worst of all, Hajizi hasn't even been touched.
Yeah.
Not once did TNC threaten the Sicilian, and he's sitting at 0, 0, and 11.
How many stacks he has?
A lot.
I can only imagine it to be even just 30 minutes into the game and nearing 200 or more than 200 stacks for the Sicilian. And even when MP the King decides to go up front, as you've mentioned, he's not entirely the front line here for Twisted Minds. It's always James making sure that he's, to some extent, zoned out the members of TNC. But speaking of zoning...
Okay, is this going to be a reset right here? It's held at under half health. We'll see if either Roamer decides to just go in. It looks like they're going to fight it out.
Dear God, Dato Ted Zaida with the clutch retribution. The fight all the way in the back. Yawi barely surviving. Quick send guard buys him a second more, but outplayed gets his man. A roamer for the Lord. TNC happy with that trade.
A clutch raging sandstorm coming in from Yawi, and TNC, a great decision to contest that objective since Zaida wasn't really behind either way. He was also level 15, so he just really had to depend on his teammates and of course his own retribution. But Twisted Minds, they're just clearing up that Lord secured by TNC.
Yeah, they're going to clear that really quickly. Again, it was, we kind of have to go for it, is what TNC was saying. Yawi was a sacrifice. They get that Lord, but I'm wondering what that will result to across the map for them, because still, they only have those 2 turrets down to work with. They're not going to be confident enough to actually push down either because of the way that they can be displaced or even outmaneuvered by Twisted Minds. You can see it, 293 stacks right now in the Sicilian, getting up to that 300 mark. And it's really starting to show in terms of the damage that this lineup can do now.
Yep, even just imagining the wishing lanterns, those little butterflies.
Yeah.
That'll get to TNC. Even when he just decides to use a single Vats Feast onto the tankiest members, that'll be a lot to deal with if you were TNC.
Stacked on top of the glowing one, so there's a lot of trickle damage happening, and then suddenly the burst from outplayed, the burst from MP the King. Twisted Minds, amazing damage profile set in. That's why they win, 4 out of 5 direct engagements against TNC in the 16-minute game.
Yep.
And he gets a Divine Glaive just now. So it's going to hurt even more so for the damage that Hajizi is able to pump out. And really, we're at just kind of a...
you mean both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Both of them have the Divine Glaive.
They got it. Yeah, they both got it now. So at this point, that damage profile that we're talking about, split between Twisted Minds and his lineup, is going to be difficult for TNC. Now, how can they overcome that? Really, it's going to come down to that next objective, the next Lord, in less than a minute away. They might not want to just completely, Yawi, go in. If he sacrifices himself and they're down numbers, even if they win that Lord, we might see the same thing, where they might secure the Lord. But if the 5-man from Twisted Minds is still alive, they would be able to just clear it out again.
You gotta start asking the hard questions here. Who's gonna find Hajizi?
Yeah. It's a difficult task for TNC, especially their damage dealer, since Twisted Minds, they're doing such a great job at blocking the damage. Even just James deciding to throw in his bodies up against TNC, looking for Kuzen. Unfortunately for TNC, Kuzen still hasn't died up to this point, but at the same time, those Sky Piercer stacks, you can't feel them as much. And at the same time, you'd be forced to run away just when you see James coming up at you. So there are so many things to be considered here if you were TNC. But of course, you'd want them to group up together. This is probably where we really have to see their team fighting prowess come into effect.
Okay, we're going to have to see if it does work out here for them. Yawi getting the vision that he needs, information to give to TNC. This Lord is crucial here. Yawi does take a couple shots.
That's way too many shots. He's down to a third of his health already.
He's going to heal up.
Use a quick sand guard. And Twisted Minds here, just waiting for the right moment to blitz. I would assume, second to second, updates on where members of Twisted Minds are coming from TNC. And I'm gonna say now, Twisted Minds, this is a Twisted Ube.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know what kind of flavor that would be, but man, also, bubblegum can work too. Lancey did take the Circling Eagle, he's got that, but it's still a push and pull between them. This is probably the closest thing we've seen to a Lord dance in a while between both teams, almost at the 19-minute mark for this one. It's half health now. Both roamers have the options, but also Lord Jam. We have to keep an eye on Lord Jam's positioning because he could initiate with a Flicker Earth Shadow combo.
Yeah.
Right now they're going to be pushed off here. Escalera does go ahead and use the Circling Eagle.
Pulls the trigger, so does Lord JM, waiting for it. James knee deep behind TNC.
Lord
and
reset.
there's a Primal Wrath. Yawi very low. James looking to finish the job.
Oh.
Outplayed. Backs off. Yawi survives.
Yawi still alive?
Yawi's alive, but
Whoa.
James will try and hide the rest of TNC with Lord James getting popped. That's a man down advantage for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, this feels like TNC getting a taste of their own medicine. They've really been a team that's reliable in terms of sustain, highest heal, average heal per game, but now it's Twisted Minds just taking charge of that so-called bubblegum ube, as you've mentioned. They've been so hard to take down. The sustain is just there, and this magic build coming in from Escalera too, it just shows they're not afraid of TNC at all. They just can keep dancing around, and that high mobility is one of their biggest assets as well. That TNC just finds so hard to target, to lock down, and to engage against in a position that's favorable for them.
The Valentina is problematic.
It is
I
right
don't see
now.
what it's trying to do, man.
It is, and you're going to have to make something do here on the base defense. They already lose the mid turret. Can they clear this one out?
Lord marching in. TNC's compromised. Yawi very low. They do take down the Lord. The Twisted Minds taking their time. Happy with that mid lane inhibitor.
We'll see if they can get anything else, but it might not be the case. TNC's clear is pretty good, but also Lancey is yet to take an ultimate for this defense. They still got to clear this out, though.
Slow roll siege. Escalera canceling the Circling Eagle.
Oh.
There's still a minion standing. TNC does the job.
They hold on to that bottom turret.
Yeah.
Great work.
Twisted Minds are really okay with fighting up front against TNC Pro Team. And even if you'd want to assume that TNC Pro Team would want to do the same, it's just not enough. Even if they get to close the gap, they get to go near either James or Escalera, they'd be doing it first. And they don't get to necessarily find the right targets. Outplayed and Hajizi. At this point, Escalera just has his eyes set on them. These are the players that I have to make sure are safe. And at this point, Outplayed no longer even has his boots anymore. He also has the Wind of Nature along with him. So if ever Zaida does get to find an opening, or even Kuzen, he will have a way to play around and still make it out alive.
Who needs boots when you got a bike?
I was going to say,
There's no need for...
it's riding protection, man.
There's no need for Outplayed to walk fast across the map. Like, he's always with his team.
Plus, he's got sprint, and he can fly around.
Exactly.
Too,
So this isn't even a liability for the gold laner on Twisted Minds. TNC, on the other hand, I'm still seeing a lot of, half-made items.
It is, and that's one of the things, though, is going back to the question earlier. Who is going to be the guy for TNC to find the right target? Because it's so difficult to find the right target. And honestly, the best one would be to find Hajizi. There's a conceal, though. It's going to be stopped.
Spotted out. Lord Jam about to get bursted, flickering on out. Circling Eagle catches him, knocks him out, forces him to use that freeze on a winner crown.
Oh.
Down he goes. James gets his man, and the rest of TNC scramble. Nothing on Twisted Minds.
Even just James at this point is enough to threaten TNC. Escalera can offer the guiding wind just for him once he's done his job, because the range in Twisted Minds lineup is already enough for just that bit of damage that James will have to tank all by himself. Hajizi also just picked up the Holy Crystal right now, so we can imagine the amount of damage that will coming from this guy.
Yawi forced the flicker back. They're backing off. They can't even try to take their own purple. This is really, really hard for TNC.
This is going to be tough. Zyda's going to have to pull something amazing off if he wants to even try to steal this, but I don't know if Twisted Minds are going to give him an opportunity or a window to.
And he does come in, fails to get it. MP the king with a clean retribution. James taken down by Kozen. Yawi sacrificing himself, popping immortality to help the rest of his team back off. Zyda goes down. Lancy, the flicker in by Hajizi. Oh, he's left alone. And he goes down. Lord JM, can he defend? It's looking bleak. Twisted Minds coming in.
It's only Lord JM in a body in the sky, but that's not enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, Twisted Minds here to take their first win. Game 1 in Season 15.
And Twisted Minds does it, at least for game number 1. They'll draw first blood in the series against the rising TNC Pro team.
Oh, you could see the smile on their faces. Twisted Minds, they've been lying for this. Right now, their fan base, the Minds, they're standing up.
As they should. What a game. I mean, again, the lineup that they had, it almost seemed for a little bit there, especially towards the late game, that it was just unkillable. Like, really, James was just, at that point, he was just throwing his body forward. He's like, yeah, I know that I'm pretty much tanked up on all these defensive items, and I have vengeance, and I'm just going to keep going, you know? And they did a really good job at least forcing Yawi to go ahead and use his Raging Sandstorm if he had to, burn his Flicker if he had to, so there wasn't that surprise setup that we usually see from those Khalids so often. But even using the Quicksand Guard, where then he didn't have that to rely on, and there was just a lot of good layering here from Twisted Minds. So, based on what we've seen in the past from them, this was clearly a huge improvement in the synergy that we've seen from these players, at least here at this point in game 1.
A different team with the same draft would not perform the same way.
Yeah.
That's why it seemed questionable when they drafted the Focus, but with Twisted Minds playing the way they did with their Ube, their own style of the Ube, definitely unlocked, outplayed.
Yeah, there's only one thing that I could say about it. He really was able to get out and join the fights alongside his team. Aside the fact that I felt a significant change in terms of how he was able to perform even just within the laning phase up against Kuzen. There were those clutch micro plays that were actually surprising to a lot of us, since it didn't feel like Outplayed was able to perform and show us those kinds of plays early on into the season. But with this decision to go for the Irithel and just play for the late game, which clearly has been something they never let go of. The advantage was almost always in their hands from the first minute onwards. Outplayed was just having the best possible time of his life. He was taken out twice. They were able to gain access to him somehow, but it wasn't just entirely dependent on him either way too. So he was just able to carry out his job most of the time, and if he wasn't able to completely carry it out up until the very end, at the very least they had Hajizi alongside them.
What I liked about this as we look at the highlights here from the game, and especially for Outplayed, is this was the first time really that I felt like there was the team was playing together.
Yeah.
You know, they were actually rotating really well together. Their timings on a lot of this stuff was on point. I mean, even some of the fights where they had to engage, disengage, and then follow through again was really able to showcase that they've worked on this. And then, again, this is a team, Twisted Minds, I know it is only week 2, but they needed this win here. I know it's only game 1. They haven't won the match just yet. TNC will go ahead and adjust leading into the next one, but this is a great victory for not only the team and the fan base as well. And going forward, hopefully they can continue to play like this, because it just seemed like everyone was there for each other on the right moments and able to go ahead and just kind of shut down what we've seen from TNC work for them in the previous games.
I think TNC went a little slow. They definitely could have picked the pace up a little more, especially with Suyo and Khalid here, and an Edith. Like, as long as the Edith has 1 and 2 and a flicker, you could definitely get away with a lot of kills. But I think TNC sat on their hands for a little too long, and I get it. I understand they were trying to get the farm on Zaizen, but I guess they didn't step on the clutch fast enough to be able to get the driver's seat.
Yeah, and I was about to say what made this entire Fovius, which we initially might have questioned in the beginning, all the more worth it for Twisted Minds, was just how much they were able to, as Nice would say, it just really felt like they were playing together a lot more in this game compared to the
Power of
first
friendship.
few instances which we've seen them play. It was like the follow-up was almost always there. They were always reliable to either dish out the damage or look for whatever has to be taken, all the while James buys them some time or zones away the other members of TNC for them.
Yeah. Just to note that game time's not.
It's not.
That's not correct. So.
I think it's 20.
Yeah, we were.
20.
Yeah.
But it seems like the majority of the stats are.
Yeah. They should be because there was only 2 turrets for TNC the whole game. So, and again, they did get some of the turtles, but yeah, they
Stole
lost
Lord.
those last lords. Yeah. So again, and like you mentioned, even if they solved the problem of maybe it was outplayed or something else. Like Hajizi was just stacking on stacks. Like at one point too, even if you catch Hajizi, you're gonna have such a hard time catching the rest. And I think that's where really for Kozin, he was having a difficult time really trying to actually find those windows for the Granger on actually like how can I get to the right targets? Who is going to be able to do that? And that's why Lord JM and Yawi were working really double time on trying to find those targets, but and set things up. But it just they weren't able to pull that off.
Yeah, and we also mentioned something about the Valentina not being as effective for TNC throughout the entire game. You would assume there would be constant bullying from Lancy and Yawi. They'd be the ones to constantly scout where MP the King is, block the ways for Escalera and Hajizi, but it just backfired. And this is the exact scenario you would not want to be up against if you're against a Sicilian and the Iritel. They get the early game. What more once it reaches the late game? And you have this lineup which has little to no range. It's just mostly on the Granger. It's just mostly on Kuzen, who, by the way, is also our rich guy with a 755 gold per minute. But in all the previous games we've been seeing, it's mostly dominant snowball games, and this is lower value compared to those games.
In the wake of yesterday's masterpiece by Coach Semi and Coach Imba DJ with that Box Selena draft, this one was a flop, I gotta say. Like, they picked the Valentina in a spot where they tried to outwit Twisted Minds, and in exchange,
their minds got twisted.
It
That's what you want to say, right?
They brought a 64-in-1 Swiss Army knife to screw on a light bulb. Like, the solution was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Ah, man, it's tough to think about it that way. But also, I think one of the things about it too is when you look at specifically what TNC could have done here and how they could have changed the course of that game. I think that might have been it if they were able to be a little more aggressive in the early game, if they were able to capitalize on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because honestly, any team facing off against a Sicilian, for example, is going to have a really difficult time in the late game, end game, because of just stacks, damage profile. But even so, maybe the biggest problem was the Valentina, because I don't know about the specific counter for it, but I think most of the time, especially towards the late game, the only ultimate really that you were taking, or maybe throughout the entirety of the game, was the Circling Eagle. And, when you have that and then you can't even really fight these fights, or you're constantly disengaging anyway, the Valentina is just kind of shut down. I mean, even your kit, where technically you see, okay, well, maybe she can utilize the Terrify, part of her abilities. Really, you weren't able to see any of that.
I don't think the Circling Eagle that was copied was ever used to engage first.
It would put TNC in a worse position.
Yeah.
So there was nothing, close to nothing, the Valentina was doing.
Here's a little update from our friends over at MPL Indonesia. They want reverse sweeps. Light and Emon's BTR, man.
And this is off of yesterday's amazing performance. Emon scored a maniac, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I think he did, yep. Man, Light and Emon, they're getting reverse sweeped over there. So they had 3 games. I feel like maybe that's foreshadowing for us. Also because Brigid is here.
I bet you Pamela's watching right now like, you guys should have picked me.
So it's not just here that we've been seeing Some surprising developments to our M6 and former international.
I call that healthy.
Yeah.
We're in a very healthy environment right now for our competition overall. Because think about what this can also mean. I know I don't want to jump too far ahead, but what if Twisted Minds actually sweeps TNC? What if that happens?
Suddenly, the Phoenix gets soiled again.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point of rising if you don't start from the bottom, right?
I remember when we saw TNC win for 2 consecutive times, and then their statistics were like full of how many days since their last win, how many days since their last back-to-back win, and we're supposed to have their back-to-back-to-back
Yeah.
statistics too, but Twisted Minds just might not allow that to happen.
Days passed since we lost our streak one. The new statistic, but hey,
You know what? It still goes back to the draft.
it does.
I'll tell you now, like, where was this team when Twisted Minds opened season 15? Because it looks like this works,
Well, we had one different player.
right? But Escalera was there the whole time.
He was.
So there must be something going on, and you know, I wish him the best, because again, Twisted Minds winning definitely makes MPL Philippines a must-watch.
And I like that they prioritize Escalera there too in the picks. But before we get to game 2, we're gonna head over to our all-access pass. Let's throw it over there.
Si Raya? Ikaw ba yan? Nah, I'm just kidding. Nandito pa rin tayo sa MPL Arena kung saan nakikita natin ang Twisted Minds leading 1-0 kontra sa TNC Pro Team. Still hands, kasama ko dito si Kalusi and of course, a member of our MLBB community pages. It's Evan. Evan, hi! Hello, kamusta?
Hello.
Hello. It's so nice to actually have you here. I want to know, magpakilala ka naman just so everybody else would have an idea on who you are.
Hello, I am Evan Bonjibot, and siguro nakita niyo ko sa maraming discourse sa
Okay.
mga ating community pages sa Facebook. And ako yung tumatawa ng mga stats. So, kapag may nakita kayo mga Excel spreadsheets, ako yun.
Okay, so for context, guys, this is Evan. In case lang na you guys missed it, this is Evan. Yung lahat ng mga nakikita nyong stats sa MLBB community pages, yung mga KDA leaders, yung mga ganyan, siya yung gumagawa nun, right?
Yes. Numbers guy. Ikaw ba, Hans? Numbers guy ka rin ba?
Well, I try, but I leave it to him, right?
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Evan, I'm curious to know lang, pwede bang i-share mo sa amin, ano ang nag-motivate sa'yo para gumawa ng stats this season?
Well, to be honest, previous seasons pa ako tumagawa ng mga stats. Pero, tumagawa ako ng mga playoffs analysis kung ano mga kailangan gawin ng mga teams para makapasok ng playoffs or upper bracket. Pero this season, just ginawa kong sipagan na week 1 pa lang, mapakita ko sa mga tao yung performance ng bawat players para ma-highlight naman natin yung ginagawa at yung mga effort ng bawat player sa mga laro nila.
Alright, every week ba naming maaabangan yung mga stats mo?
Yes, every week. Kasi nandito na ako, sipa lang, go lang.
Saka
Okay.
ang kulay nung ano,
Yes.
I don't know if you saw,
Color-coded.
but it was so colorful, color-coded, all of the teams are there. Tanong ko lang, nagbabala ka bang mag-analyst by any chance? Kasi parang yun din yung ginagawa ng mga part
Pwede.
members ng coaching staff natin eh. Is that something that has ever crossed your mind?
Pwede naman. Gusto ko mating sa statistics major, pero napunta ako sa Comsci. So,
Okay.
palay nyo.
Okay, why not? You know what? Kung sakali naghahanap ang mga teams, you know where to find this guy. Makikita niyo siya all throughout. I also want to know, Kalusi, right? I think you still have one more question.
Yes, and since topic na rin naman natin yung stats, ano naman masasabi mong analysis sa nangyaring game kanina?
Well, para sa akin, it's all about team fight. And talagang
Team fight.
galing ng team fight potential ng team ng Twisted Minds.
Okay.
As, lagi na lang nakaka-pick up and tutuloy-tuloy lang yung team fight nila hanggang napanalo na nila.
And we did see it. Kani-kanina lang, kaya naman the Minds got a victory in game number 1. The question is, will they be taking it all the way? Or will the Phoenix Army rise from the ashes and take the series for good? Ibalik na natin sa ating mga casters.
Thank you you so much, Hans, Luis, and Evan.
Evan.
All-star contributor to our group over there, the Stats Man. Big respect to all those people, man. I'm personally not a numbers guy. The only numbers I know are the numbers in the gym, and that's about as far as I get.
45 plus 45?
Yeah,
135.
135.
There you go. No, but Evan Jesus Bonjibot is also a top contributor to my page. So I'm like, oh, it's this guy. So whenever I post something and then, it's something of substance,
Yeah.
it's that guy.
Yeah, honestly, whenever I see his posts, I
Study.
initially think that it's from either someone in the back end involved in the production.
Because it's so detailed.
Yeah, because it's so detailed. I wonder how he's able to get those statistics. But
Computer major, apparently.
yeah, and he wanted to be a statistics major, but those are like kind of related. I don't know.
It's a deadly combo.
It makes it work.
It's his passion and now his profession.
Oh man, if only we could all do our passions and our professions
Oh, wait.
together.
Wait, what?
Oh wait! Oh well. Oh, we're back. So looking at the draft here, game number 2, we do have We got Twisted Minds over on the red. And looking through this, the band's already coming out. First phase, it's the Eve, the Louis Yi. There's the Jushin now for Twisted Minds and the Fanny. So look at this. They do have a 75% win rate for TNC in the games they've played, and Twisted Minds changed that 0% win rate on the blue side the previous game. So we'll see if they can do it here.
It
Game
should
2.
still be 75% or higher if TNC follow the fundamental rules.
Yeah.
What are those rules?
Don't get too tricky with the Valentina, man!
And as of now, they already took out 3 mid lane heroes: the Jushin, Louis, and the Eve. So maybe if ever we do see the Valentina, right, they pick it in a much better position and timing. But as we're seeing it right now, the Suyo's still available. Both the Harriet and Granger are still up for grabs too.
It's Twisted Minds that bans it out.
Twisted
They're like,
Minds.
we're going to ban out the Matilda this time. We don't
Yeah.
want it to go in the hands of TNC. So TNC, what are they going to priority? Is it going to be the Suyo? Okay, it's going to be the Harith, as that was still open. That's a 100% contention rate. This has been a hero that has not really fallen off since what, like M6 or even pre-M6? Season 14?
In M6, Harris dropped to maybe A- or
Yeah.
B+ situation. Again, his range is problematic. But yeah, currently, he's an S class, like him and
S-class.
Granger.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they want to pick up the Suyo here though, or if
Suyo
they have
Granger?
something in mind too. Again, since they did debut the Julian earlier.
They can go Suyo X.
Yeah, but they
Suyo-
still okay. Now they do go for the Suyo and the Cho.
Chuyo.
Trio, and this could technically, we could see this flexed, right?
Yeah.
We could still, depending on what's going to happen here for TNC, they could park Cho in the XP lane. They could end up going to roam with it here. Not sure what they exactly plan to do just yet, and a lot of that will be the contingency on TNC. Now, for them, what do you think they're going to go, Brig?
Yeah, I'm thinking of if ever they do want to pick up their XP laner here as well, either the Badang. It's still there in some ways. I wouldn't want the Badang to go in the hands of Twisted Minds, knowing that there's a Harriet in their lineup, but they pick up the Hilda instead. So the trend of rotational speed might just be the target or the priority here for TNC. Even getting the Nolan immediately before heading into the second phase. So at the very least, we're seeing no Mathildas, but the Hilda and the Nolan. Those are 2 quick rotating heroes immediately in hands of TNC.
Well, that's what Mr. Dan was mentioning earlier. You know, they do kind of need to be a little more aggressive in the early game, maybe put a little more pressure, maybe follow through on that, and those are basically 2 heroes that can really do that. We have seen before, though, you know, with, for example, junglers like King Kong, when he plays the Nolan, sometimes he just goes and farms off by himself, puts pressure on side lanes later, and kind of plays at the macro level, which they could do.
I'm Dan. I said that.
I know.
They should have gone faster.
You're welcome, Dan.
So they're fine. Thank you, Joseph. So here's the thing. Twisted Minds now know what's in the gold. TNC's gonna attack that, take out. How did the Granger not there? It is all right.
I was gonna say
How did the
it,
Granger not get banned out?
it had to be banned out. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
But what's scaring me is the lack of mid laners still.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Valentina might rear its beautiful head again.
How can you not love the Valentina that way? Whoa.
Well, it's a special shout out to.
Oh, wait. I know that guy. That's Kylie. That's Kylie from Onyek.
Onyek?
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Oh, that's Doggy. Never mind.
Totally different people.
It's a totally different person.
Back to the draft. Tigreal here. Taken out. There is no roamer still for TNC. What's left for the
They're gonna take
lover
it.
boy?
Yeah, the Earthel is available
Oh,
though.
carry.
If
Oh, something tells me the lover boy got to pick the Hylos.
yeah.
Hylos or Gatot?
Hylos or Gatot.
But the Earthel, as I mentioned, might be an option for outplay, not unless they want to go for something else. I don't think we've seen a different gold laner though show up just yet in the season. So
This is
they go
gonna
for
be a
the mix
Valentina
out of
again.
first. Oh,
If only we could play a Jiria.
It's Master Jiraiya.
Jiria.
You said Jiria?
Jiria.
Where's the giant frog?
I don't watch Naruto's.
Naruto's? Since when did it become plural?
Oh,
I'm just-
what?
Hold on.
Oh.
It's Kufra.
Hold up.
I think yesterday's casters were excited to see this, and now it's happening.
But it was on a different team.
It's a
Talk about
different
the
team.
ultimate counter to your personal hero, your avatar. Ain't no dashing around a Kufra.
Oh, dashing around here.
Alright, so outplayed. What does he want to use up against this kind of lineup? The Irtel seems like the safer option, but there's a Moskov. There's a Moskov too, if ever he does wants to consider that.
There it is. Good call, Brigida.
Yeah, so
He's ready to out. Like, this is the hero in the gold lane, I feel like, for the outplay potential.
Moskov is like the third best in the whole game right now.
yeah.
You're looking at Granger,
Third best.
Harith, and then
And Moskov.
And then everyone else just follows.
You might see a little bit more of the solo or split pushes come in, but like a balanced version of that alongside being part of the fights all the time too, since it really worked for Twisted Minds earlier. And looking at the index, somehow Twisted Minds might really have to be a little careful in the early to mid stages of the game.
Yeah, at this point, too, for Twisted Minds, taking a look at the lineups here one last time, they're relying on the flickers. The athleticism is going to be strong with them here as they get into game number 2. We're going to find out if Twisted Minds can go in with a sweep against a team that's been actually doing really well, sitting at 2-0 right now, TNC Pro team, or can they go to a game 3 as we get a good look at these early rotations this time around. Well, TNC step on the gas a little bit sooner.
I'll tell you now, a preamble to the action. Hold up, in mid, Lancy down to half health, wings by wings, and a regenerate on both. All right, looking at Twisted Minds draft, all in all, they have less propensity to Ube. It's clear that in game 1, like they were built to just go around together, but this lineup, I'd like to see them split.
Yep.
They need to play the map.
Yes, beginning with outplayed even, maybe. He can be a little more playful in terms of where he positions himself, even during those objective takes that we might be seeing later on. But even in just looking at the mid duos of both sides, both can be really threatening in the early game if they work together well.
Already flicker burned for outplayed. Not wanting to get taken down this early on. It's a good usage of that. A little bit of a response here towards the top side too. Yawi will find Escalera, but ultimately nothing is going to really happen here until that first turtle does break out. We take a look at how things are starting, some of the early build paths here, Brick.
Yeah, early tough boots too. Outplayed, trying to keep a little bit more safer in the laning. Interesting though to see how Lord JM's the one being stopped from rotating first out of the EXP lane. So there will be some sort of advantage in terms of Twisted Minds positioning themselves though, but Escalera.
Yawi finds him, puts him down to a quarter of his health, and just like that, Escalera has to hold his pixel brush as the turtle spawns.
Okay, right now, holding it together. Escalera's quite low, so he has to be really careful on the approach. And here, Yawi already jumps in.
Oh, feather airstrike coming through. Lancey gets hit by James.
MP.
Down goes MP the King. That's going to be eternal secured for TNC. And the fight continues. James, Infernal Pursuit on to Yawi. The flicker back. He wants to find his old friend. TLID graduates. Yawi bouncing ball out of here. Zaida takes him down.
I wonder why Yawi still got went up.
1v1. Kozin takes down Outplayed.
That was a solo kill.
That was revenge from earlier. But Escalera will he be able to find him
The
though?
recall. Oh! The smooth criminal gets away with it.
It was such a close call. But then again, TNC clearly, they're taking control of the early game. Also, despite what we previously mentioned about Lord JM and all that, it felt like it wasn't necessary for him to be there either way because Yawi was just on point with all those tyrant revenge, tyrant rage combos that he just kept using, and similar to now.
Feathered airstrike answering back. The quick shoot pull, and Escalera gets sent 6 feet under.
Oh, this Kupra's working wonders. Outplayed could be in trouble again.
Harrod with the Zaman Force Kozin dance and dash, forcing a flicker away on Outplayed. SOD going home.
SOD not going to connect. A little bit of extra gold going the hands here. Kozin, look at that. I mean, based on the solo kill and then that little extra gold on the plating, he's got a nice little gold lead now against Outplayed, and they're still focused here. He doesn't have flicker.
And a huge XP lead. Dashes through away from Yawi's jump. Bouncing ball, keeping them at bay. Almost running out the whole gold energy shield down bottom.
Yeah, even the junglers actually. Zaida leading 2-0 in terms of kills is already 1k ahead of MP the King. And earlier, it did feel like Twisted Minds, they were just able to have such a great early game because there was no one to stop MP the King from just getting his farm. He was highest in terms of gold when the game ended earlier, but doesn't seem to be the case right now. There seems to be a bit more aggression coming in from the mid duos, Yawi and Lancey. So they're able to set up the brushes for themselves, and they're able to position ahead of time. And this might happen once again if they get to target down Escalera.
Okay, they're going to start it here. Escalera might be looking for a kick. Half health on the turtle. They're just going to blitz it, though. No really room to just even contest that.
Nice try. Outplayed does throw out an SOD. Hits someone into the corner. Best stay down here. Look at the rotation from TNC just as quickly going down a gold lane.
Yeah, it seemed like they were just up near the turtle pit a second ago, but Yawi again. How do you position yourself with your Twisted Minds? Just knowing that there's a threat, that there will be another jump!
Yawi pushed the push, full-on combo, compromising and taking down MP.
Man, this is what we wanted to see, even last night. Right now, Yawi utilizing this coup front to the point, just making it work. I mean, a lot of times he hasn't had to do anything fancy yet either. And maybe later on we see that, but there's such good timing on his setups. Oh, feathered airstrike.
All right, preemptive clear here by Lancey, forcing back Escalera. And that's,
the solo kill!
Outplayed. And Kozin 1-1 now, flaring up with the recall.
Oh my goodness. Kuzen just earlier with a solo kill, but
James about to get bursted here. The Rift's not able to take him down. About 5 HP on James. Still 2 up there. That's Lord JM. One more hit. Don't get it. He misses. And the recall by the former TLID champion.
This is the feud we were talking about. Yawi, he's down here by himself waiting for Kozin.
Way of the Dragon, caught in by Escalera. Hakizi flickers through. Finally, Yawi goes. All it took was 3. Kozin drops the Salmon Force and a feathered airstrike. Lancey with the final blow. Up top, Lord JM, well with MP. Gets hit by the Spear of Misery, and he holds the brush.
all right. They really wanted to get that kill onto Yawi right there, but checking out the items, still Kuzen leading up against Outplayed, but he's been able to gradually close the gap since he's been getting very important kills away from TNC since earlier. You wouldn't want Outplayed to catch up on this Moskov and open up a lot more possibilities. But still TNC, they have this Feather Strike 2, they can still take control of the Turtle Pit.
Lancey, well timing that ult. He knows that when it comes down to it, it'll be off of cooldown. The pre-fire making it work. 100% of turtles
Escalera.
go into TNC. The kick by Escalera finds sight of the answer. The Zaman Force. Escalera goes down. MP the King very low. One more. The bouncing ball dashes through. The surge. Lord JM with the final blow, taking down the King.
And that was the disconnect that we've seen in the past from them, James.
Oh, the answer. Feather Strike. Close combat, point blank, gets blasted by 3.
Going back to the point, that's what we were talking about. Even for Escalera, he was by himself when he decided to go in for that Way of the Dragon kick, gets killed, and then the rest of the team falls apart. So now Twisted Minds finds themselves quite behind. You know, almost 7,000 gold at almost the 8-minute mark.
Yeah, and you somehow feel the difference of Yawi just really taking command of TNC and directing where they're supposed to focus and target their skills, but hold up.
Up top, the Zaman Force used defensively. Kozin dashing back. The kick catches Yawi. He's going to sacrifice himself here. He goes down for the sake of his gold laner.
He goes down. Pick up here for Twisted Minds. Zyda's damage is actually even able to go ahead and threat James. Now, James, he will get even more tanky on this Phobius like we saw in the previous, but so far with TNC's lead, with the confidence they have to move around the map, having 4 turrets down, and again, Twisted Minds has not, they just got their first one. That one does go down. They have to be a little more careful on how they approach these objectives.
That's currently where the metagame is right now. As a Nolan, you're at a very specific position where you're number 1 in burst. Even Suyo and Joy don't come close.
Yeah.
Yep, and even when Yawi went down earlier, Zyda on the Nolan just given this mobility too and presence of mind, just making sure that there would be a trade, that their gold lead wouldn't minimize as much. They took that turret down bottom, but Escalera is here alone again.
Lord Jam going to hunting, gets pushed out of the pixel brush. Escalera holds the white brush. The rest of Twisted Minds coming through. That is outplayed all across the map. They do find Lord Jam. One down. Feather Strike. The answer. Escalera down. Already spending the EE. No home for the SOD. And it looks like it's a back for Twisted Minds as James gets popped here. Traded out for with Yawi as TNT secures the Lord.
The 1-for-2 trade. Unfortunate that Outplayed wasn't able to land the spear and join that fight. So TNC will go ahead and grab themselves the objective, only using Yawi. So still at this point, they'll be able to make more moves in towards the base of Twisted Minds at this point.
Yep, and they're very decisive. They can just keep going for Escalera. He decided to prioritize the Dreadnought armor and has only recently picked up the Magic Robe. So they can feel the damage coming in from Lancey, who up to this point hasn't really went down yet. 0 deaths also on the Glowing Wall and the Wishing Lantern. So you could already imagine the amount of damage even if you are one of the supposedly tankiest heroes.
Look at that lead
in this lineup.
in the jungles.
Oh,
That's a huge difference and gap that MP the King is dealing with.
that's 4K. And they are just about to take out all the outer turrets. No holy shields as well for this bottom lane turret. Then there's a conceal coming in from TNC.
There's a charge in, he jumps in.
Yawi with a full combo, taking out MP. Outplayed, fighting at point blank range. This is not ideal for a Moskov. They trade out for Lord JM though. Yawi as well.
Spear.
SOD behind Kozin. Dashing through Feather Strike. The answer by Lancey. James for Zyda. James. Escalada as well. Might go down. 2 for 1. 3 for 2 currently. And they're going to take down all of the minions, clearing them out. Twisted Minds keep their inhibitor.
There was fights everywhere there. And TNC comes out on top of the fight, and they should be able to get a little bit more here if they can actually put some damage on the turrets. But so far, Twisted Minds does hold on to the base turrets.
Yep, luckily for them, their main damage sources were the first to be able to walk away and keep themselves in a safer position. A well-timed Purify as well coming in from Kozel just to avoid that Spear of Misery and that threat of Twisted Minds getting to take him down altogether at once. And of course, Lancey being just very reliable, even though the Curse of Crow did not exactly connect. It was timed at point wherein Escalera was invulnerable. That was already enough for Twisted Minds to disengage and run away. So still the lead can be still very much evident between these two teams. There is no direct answer yet whatsoever, especially towards Zaida. No one wants to get near Zaida at this point, not even outplayed, and it's a very difficult position for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, a very different game too for Lancey. You know, this time he's a lot more of value on the far side, like we mentioned in the previous game. He's able to pump out tons of damage. He's quite hard to catch himself with the wings wide wings, but then a Purify. And maybe it's going to change a little bit once Escalera gets a little bit more magic defense, because right now he doesn't have, he's only got really the anti-Karas finished, still working on the next defensive item. He might pick up the Athena shield soon, but once he does, maybe that helps. Again, there's a lot of magic damage here from TNC that they have to play into. MP is still trying to catch up as well, does just now pick up the Sea Halberd. So this next Lord, this might be another difficult fight. Yawi's going to go ahead and charge on up. He does have an immortality here too.
Does not go coast to coast, instead trying to protect his front line. Let's get it out with the flicker and the kick, compromising Kozen, and there's the back line, looking for one. Lancey falls. James taken down here. Lord James looking to finish the job. Zaida just roaming around, waiting. MP the King holding on to their life, and the steal. They walk away with something, trading 3 for 1.
MP got the Lord. I mean, they delayed it for so long. TNC really took the pedal off the gas, but he still ends up getting the retry off. So Twisted Minds might buy some more time, but can they defend against the push that TNC is going to go for the base here?
Yeah, I mean, even Escalera, he's always consistently able to look for the right targets, but the damage is not just there. But speaking of damage,
Kozen drops the Zaman Force, clearing the waves, dealing a lot of damage. SOD coming in, outplayed, clicks it. He's there, popping Yawi's immortality. Escalera with the kick, not before the pop-off. Down he goes, gets another one. Double kill for Mama Coco, as outplayed falls as well.
He's still going. James in trouble. There's Zaida. Immortality popped.
Lord James in the backline punished underneath tier 3, and now TNT's gonna have their way with Twisted Minds turret.
Oh, they have a couple minions to clear out, but this can't be the end here.
This might be it. Summon Force set in. No minions. No minions. Twisted Minds still live.
They're still up.
my. Imagine Zaida, even in that very chaotic team fight, was still able to look for the right targets.
Another feathered airstrike. Yawi goes down. Hachizi lives, but only for a second longer. And Zaida pops him. Escalera down as well. SOD outplayed, holding on for dear life.
It's outplayed, and James left here.
It's over. Salmon Force on Kozen finishes the job. We're going to game 3.
And they'll even out the series 1-1. TNC looked a little dicey at the end there, but they'll get the job done.
Zaida on this Nolan, just consistently farming, and whenever there's a team fight, no matter how chaotic it gets, always finds the right targets. I would say the same for Escalera too, but it's different when you're the setter and when you're the damage dealer. Escalera tends to always get the targets, always look for Zaida, but his teammates are just being blocked off by Lord JM. It seems like it's a constant go signal for Lord JM to, once he sees Escalera approach his teammates, oh, this is time for me to block off his teammates.
Yeah, it was again a great execution there from this lineup for that TNC brought to the table. Part of that too is just because of the fact that Zaida had the lead that he did throughout the majority of the game against MP the King. It came down to even that last fight where he had to be very surgical on how he got those targets. If he didn't manage to get outplayed toward the end there, it could have might have been a little bit difficult because the outplayed was low. They got the right marks, but then there was a little bit of hope, and it was just unfortunate there wasn't enough time for Twisted Minds to defend. But of course, the MVP here is going to be just himself, Zaida, on that Nolan pick. 11-0-7. I didn't even realize that this was his KDA towards the end. But talk about a strong game for the jungler here.
And he even had a Guardian helmet towards the end, so he probably swapped it in to stay a bit more longer, just regen some HP, and just go for the finish since they already saw the opening towards the end of the game. Even that clutch or last-minute kill onto Haji, who clearly was just trying to desperately position himself onto the sides, pop up the feathered airstrike just to clear the minion waves was denied here by Zaida just because of how precise his targeting was towards those key members of Twisted Minds. And you would see majority of the highlights here for Zaida, just him readily taking on whoever Yawi gets to jump on. He looks for either Escalera, MP the King. That's a better option for them if ever they had the opportunity. But it's just a constant response to whatever setup comes from Yawi, and they never lack the damage to carry out whatever was started.
I'd reckon the comms for Zaida and the rest of TNC were clean. All the while, I would assume a transcript for Twisted Minds would be Escalera going, I found one! And the rest Twisted, ah!
just running in chaos here. And it was, again, when you look at it, you know, the way that TNC played this, especially, they had some difficulty, I feel like, approaching this fight, but you are, I don't know if they'll showcase here, but a lot of the recalls, this, again, is the feud-fueled match, and I can really feel it when we're in game between the players here. But there was some moments of hope, I'd say, for Twisted Minds, and it was just TNC showcasing that, you know, a lot of the decision-making they had, it just worked out better for them. This is the interaction I was talking about earlier. Outplayed's quite low. Here, Zaida goes in, picks him up. Great usage, even though, and then he sidesteps, stays alive, picks up an immortality, and goes and works on James. The rest of the team is there to support him through all of that, too.
Yep, and also what you've mentioned about Lancy being a lot more active in this game, working well together with Yawi, just taking control of every single part of the map in which they decide to rotate towards. And it was the complete opposite for Twisted Minds. Despite the Tro and Vixana on paper looking like a very deadly mid-lane duo too, whenever they get to find a single target, they just keep going for those cheat kundos, even for those knockups and those follow-up Deathly Grasp as well as Curse Blast, but it wasn't entirely the case for a very high mobility lineup similar to TNC Pro Team. Even if they, let's say, wanted to go for Yawi, it's Yawi always positioning himself first in the brushes, getting to go for the surprise attacks even before Twisted Minds gets to find out where he actually is. So a lot of the possibilities which happened for TNC were made possible by Yawi and Lancy, and it was not until the mid game, I'd say, where Lord JM was actually actively participating. It was like Twisted Minds were also to some extent successful in making him stay in his lane and not being as annoying as most Hildas which we see nowadays.
And that's the least you could do to a Hilda, right? If the Hilda doesn't get to rotate out, she's compromised. But if the game doesn't end on that point, then you're still going to get bit elsewhere. I think that's the amazing thing about TNC's draft is, yeah, you put so much focus on Lancy, everyone else run roughshod. This is, again, a far cry from Lancy's performance from game one. Half of his feathered airstrikes were even before the fight started. That's how confident he was, and that's how active he was.
Yep.
We see that a lot now too. When the farces do come through in a draft, it's that kind of preemptive feather airstrike. Like they'll use it early because they know by the time, even if they get someone down half health or so, that's going to give them an advantage to go ahead and pick up a kill. I mean, this is pretty crazy. Zaida, 1,051 GPM on this Nolan. That's just how crazy this guy was on farming. And the reason why, once again, that MP the King had such a difficult time, he was just gapped. I mean, at 1.4, 5,000 gold behind.
3 levels.
Zaida, 3 levels. And, you know, you still have to also be like, man, it's impressive that MP the King was even able to get that retribution off on one of those lords, but then still, when the team was spending the majority of the game behind and trying to catch back up, you know, at that point, it's just the cards are stacked, you know, against them, and it's really difficult for them to come back through. But still, I think even when it came down to the gold lane, it was nice to see that, hey, they had some 1v1s.
Yeah.
You know, I think what they end, 1-1? I think there was only two 1v1s there.
Yeah. There was a constant mini cam.
So maybe they settle it in game 3. But also we've got this here, Zai Zen, the duo, ties the feud-fueled showdown. If you guys are just joining us here now, that is the story about this matchup. Again, a lot of these players in the past have either been teammates or they've been on similar teams, or they've had their feuds here and there, and now they're battling it out against each other in this matchup against Twisted Minds and TNC. So that's what I'm saying. You know, when you see those recalls come out, it's fueled. It's
Yeah.
fueled here.
It's some sort of them being just so familiar with each other too, and knowing each other from way back. But at the same time, they're on different teams now, so it's just so interesting to see these interactions between these former teammates and the way they're able to build this chemistry so fast. I think it was a surprise to us, especially when it comes to talking about TNC. Whenever we mention how, yeah, these players, they've just been together for quite like
Quite a while.
quite a while, and they've been having new players, but the chemistry, it's really showing up.
I think it's definitely showing up. Twisted Minds, like I said, even though they struggled here in Game 2, we saw glimpses of the synergy in Game 1. So hopefully they're able to go ahead and replicate that and maybe get a win in the series against TNC. But before that, we are going to throw it over to the All Access segment with our host. Let's throw it over.
Maraming salamat sa ating mga casters. Kalusi, Jiraya, salamat ah. May binabantayan mo kami ng maayos. Kasi kanina kinakabahan kami, no, Kalusi?
Oo, at balita ko, hindi lang siya ang bisita natin ngayon, Hans.
Wait lang, kuya, kinakabahan ka ba sa kasama namin? Dahan-dahan ka lang, kuya. Ha? Thank you, Jiraya. Sige, pwede ka nang, kasi nakapasok na kami. Ha? Salamat paring Jiraya. Dito muna tayo. Kasi guys, kakapasok lang natin sa MPL Arena. Hindi ko alam kung napapanood nyo na siya, pero mukha naman siyang pamilyar. Tapat mo nga doon ng konti. Sino ba yan?
Sino ba
Uy!
to?
Uy!
Ay,
Hello, pwede ba kaming pumasok? Okay, pasintabi muna
Ayan,
ha,
nangangamusta lang kami.
Sa lahat ng mga nandyan ha. Alright, so ang ating official restreamer for today, walang iba kundi si Exort. Pare, welcome. Sige, dito ka sa gitna. Yan, dito ka sa gitna. Grabe. Ngayon lang natin siya nakita, no?
oo nga eh. Nakita ko nga kanina, akala ko sino yung sumisigaw sa tabi ko.
Oh, pero ngayon, nandito na. Kamusta naman ang restreaming experience? Kasi dati nagsistream ka lang siguro sa bahay mo, pero ngayon, andito ka sa MPL. Ano ba pinagkaiba?
Parang naka-tempted tumingin sa likod kasi yun yung live talaga eh.
Oo.
Saka dito may delay. Parang naka-tempted tumingin sa likod. Pero masaya rin naman overall. Masaya naman ako.
Mm,
Bagong experience.
Okay, may pinagkaiba ba yung experience mo kapag nanonood ka lang sa bahay versus kapag dito ka live sa MPL Arena?
May pinagkaiba rin. Tsaka mas masaya dito kasi rinig din yung crowd. Tsaka parang nakikita ko rin yung stage. Masaya. Parang nakamiss maglaro din sa on-site.
Alam mo, buti nga nabanggit mo yun eh. Kasi sabi mo, nakakamiss maglaro sa on-site. Lately, there's been some questions or some news about free agents getting, back into the MPL stage na nagsisimula sila sa MDL. May chance ba na makita ka namin doon?
Siguro this season wala. Kasi may team na ako this season eh. Siguro next season. Makikita niyo ulit ako dito next season.
We're about to find that out very soon.
Okay, mainit yan. Invite mo naman, Exhort, yung mga fans natin na manood live dito sa MPL Arena.
So yun guys,
Sige, invite mo lang sila, men. Gaya nung ginagawa mo kanina nung nandito
so
sila.
guys, huwag niyo kalimutan supportahan lahat ng teams dito guys. And punta na kayo dito guys. Kaya mo na dito.
Final question, hot seat, TNC Pro Team, Twisted Minds. Sino sa tingin mo kukuha ng Game 3?
Yung puso ko, nasa Twisted kasi mga tropa yung mga nandun eh.
There we finally have it. Exor says, Twisted wins Game 3. Magpapatalo ba ang TNC Pro Team? We're about to find out. Mukhang hindi naman kasi lapanan talaga to ng dalawang matikas. Patuloy natin sa ating mga casters.
Thank you so much, Hans, Calusi, and Exort. He's live actually right now. He's here on ground, like we mentioned. But I checked out his stream, and he's definitely got a lot of people there watching him. So that's always fun to see who's the restreamer of the week.
I mean, who wouldn't want to see a former MPL and MSC champion in action in a position that you haven't seen him in a while?
And where's he going?
He does stream, and yeah, he did allude to maybe joining the league once again. But who knows? He was an import one, so maybe he'll get signed elsewhere as a free agent. Who knows?
There's still other leagues starting, by the way. We never know. We never know. Side selection, by the way, right here we have Twisted Minds. They're going to be going to the blue side. They're now not sitting at that 0% anymore. They've got the 25 win rate there, 25%. We'll see if this is the magic for them, the magic side where they can win a series against TNC now. Brick, do you think that's going to happen here? What do you think they need to do? Is it pick Matilda again, or do you think they're even going to get a chance to pick Matilda again?
I'd say if they do want to go for that kind of approach, then it works. Like, it's a great start since your heroes work well together, and it was ideal for them at that point since there was little to no means for TNC to stop that combination, that Phobius Matilda. I think they had little to no hold looking back at that game, so they were just able to keep going in for the fights. But if ever they do want to revert back to what we saw similarly in game number 2, then probably be a lot more coordinated for it to work since that's what it requires the most. The follow-ups coming in or coming right after those setups from Escalera. As you mentioned, their comms weren't probably as clean as what TNC probably had in game number 2, so they probably might want to work on that.
That being said, TNT has been a team, at least I would assume this 5, for what, the better part of 4 months now.
Yeah.
They did start their season 15 preseason as soon as November. As early as M6 season, they announced Yawi was coming home.
Yeah.
So they've been together for that long. Compared to Twisted Minds, who I would assume was built like a month ago.
Built a month ago, and I mean, we had this discussion yesterday on broadcast about, really how does it end up working out when you have a team or a roster of multiple players and you're kind of, mixing and matching and you're trying different players in different roles. And now, for the most part, Twisted Minds mainly has just done adjustments in terms of their roam, where in the first week we saw Sensui, now we're seeing Escalera, and so far, again, there's not that much data just yet, but Escalera seems to be working out. I think one of the big parts, though, is still Escalera has to allow MP the King to have a good early game on the jungle.
And the thing is, it's not the only problem they have to deal with. I'm excited to see if they can prove us wrong and beat TNC when TNC gets a decent draft. Because game 2, I call that a decent draft, like TNC was firing on all cylinders. But
Yeah.
game 1,
That wasn't a good draft.
there's a definite gimp. Like TNC was playing with a less than full deck, you know what I mean? Like they were
Yeah.
playing 80% power. I'm counting that one off with the Valentina. So
Yeah.
if both are at this level, how does that look like for Twisted Minds?
Yeah, I agree. Since chemistry-wise, I think we've already established who we think has the higher chemistry so far, at least as early as in week number 2. And it's entirely another thing to think about how long did they practice these backup plans for Twisted Minds, right? If they did enter the season with Sensui as the roamer and now they're switching it up with Escalera, so how are they able to work around practice with these two possible lineups? Or do they have other possible lineups too in mind? And would you really want it to come to a point where you just have to keep showing us these plans, the backup plans, because that will just say, or that will just tell that all you've prepared previously aren't entirely working, right?
Yeah, and this is, what did work for TNC in the previous game is Yawi on the Kufra here. He's got 32 games played in his all-time stats for MPL Philippines. It's one of the heroes that was shared when we saw that glimpse of him and Chaknu compared yesterday with their hero pool. And, it just showcases that even when it's not technically a hero you would expect Yawi to pick up in the series, but he did. It ended up really allowing and activating his team.
That's why the Cho isn't as much of a threat. You see that question we asked at the start of the series coming full circle. You don't see them rushing the Cho. It's because they have the answers to the Cho. So what more are TNC packing going into the draft? That's what I'm wondering if Twisted Mind's ready for.
Yep.
See
And
if
we're
they do
about to
that.
see first pick for Twisted Minds earlier. Or yeah, they're in blue side right now. So this kind of reminds me of how they okay. Nah, there's
Covering the bases.
there's
Just
already
take it
an
out.
immediate answer right now from TNC compared to earlier. But
I think they, in this case too, if it's still open, I could see Twisted Minds still kind of prioritizing even a Harith,
Yeah.
like if it's not banned out. It just seems to work out better if they do get their hands on it, and again, unless they want to trade something this time around.
instead of fighting against it, since the attempts coming in, especially from Escalera earlier, you wouldn't want to face that against a lineup with a Harith again. You have to take into consideration so many targets, if ever that is the case. So at this point, the jungler trades are still possible for both of these teams actually, or unless they do want to go for the Harith since Kuzen has been having a really good time on the Harith earlier when we saw him play in game number 2.
Yep. Last ban though for TNC. We'll see if they actually decide to take that out. There's been some swapping too, where it's like, you know, usually you see that Fanny band out over on the red side, but just Twisted Minds has not wanted that to go in the hands of Zyda. And I really got to say too, for Zyda, we talked a little bit about, you know, before when he had to step in the shoes back in for Carl Teasy, he's really improved. Like his play style, his confidence, I would say, just as an individual player has really improved. And he's also just got a great hero pool of junglers. Now, the Harith is banned out, so what does this leave priority-wise for Twisted Minds?
What could they be considering the joy instead of the Suyo? I mean, if they want to be a little more focused on the targets or the priority on the heroes during the team fights, there will be a much clearer direction for MP the King to engage whenever there is a team fight if he gets the joy, and they will be picking up the joy instead. But there's an immediate response with the Granger Bada.
Don't need to rush the Suyo.
Yeah.
So you get a Granger plus X.
Yep.
So Badang's been kind of slept on, you know, in the series so far. So this comes through, and right now it's just such a quality pick in the sense that you disrupt the team fight flow a lot of the times, and you can even go ahead and catch some of those more mobile heroes that Twisted Minds might try to bring up.
Yeah. Escalera, could he be considering a similar hero as earlier? Will he be revealing the throw immediately at this point, or will he want to reserve it? I mean, there is the Jawhead possibility too, but there you go. So it's the Joy and the Cho together paired up for Twisted Minds. And TNC finishes off their first face draft with the Suyo.
All right, so far so good. I'm looking at the checkboxes. Follow patterns. Confirm your essentials. Confirm your cores. Both sides have done that right.
Yep.
Take those in, and then now the focus on some of the mid lane options for both sides here. I think we still eventually see a Farsa come up if it's not banned out. Seems to be one of the heroes. What are the top heroes in the mid lane right now in terms of success? Farsa,
The
Vex,
Vexana.
Vexana, Eve. That really hasn't changed that much.
Lo Yi. Weirdly enough, mid is wide open compared to the other roles.
It is, but it's just like these heroes just do it better.
And they get banned out really hard. Like, there's always at least 2 mages banned in the first phase alone.
Yeah, at this point I think it's the Sicilian Vexana.
Lo Yi.
That's right, Louis.
Yeah.
There's so many heroes to consider in mid.
Eve still sometimes.
And then in the right situations, Valentina. Some teams can get away with it. I'm going back to Aurora the other night.
This game
We
3
might
might
see
be
it
one
here,
of them.
yeah.
I was gonna say game 3 so far. It could be one of those games.
I don't see a Valentina spot just yet.
There's a Jawhead ban. That's a good choice because usually that's paired with a Suyo.
Yep.
So that'll alleviate some of that pressure that combo does bring to the table. So TNC on the response here to pair this up. We'll see if they end up picking their mid lane option. Again, the farce is still open.
Or
Just go for that. Not that.
Don't do it.
yeah,
February's over.
unless they want to go
There
for
it is.
yeah, okay. So they go for the Farsa instead.
My gears almost got grinded.
turn into Mr. Neil over here. Turn into midnight.
I'm sure Midnight would say the same thing.
Yeah.
He's in the arena, by the way. He's not working today, but
He's here.
I'm sure we
He's
share the
probably
same-
ranting somewhere.
share the same-
He's enjoying and ranting at the same time.
Hey, he deserves that day off. He did some play-by-play yesterday, so.
After a long time.
Whoa, debut? Another debut.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, you know who plays a lot of Kadira?
Who?
That guy in the restreaming booth. Exhort has held. Legend says.
Oh,
Exhort held global #1 Kadira for like 6 months.
this is so.
That's legend? Man,
Might be real, might be true.
that's folklore. Oh, and it got a touchdown.
I believe he did. Yeah. I think he was one of the notable Kadita users. But this brings me back. And the first time I felt there's a chance we might be seeing this is when we saw the Novaria Selena come into play, and it's it gives up the same feeling, right? There's a Kadita once again, it's Hajizi using it. So what does TNC Pro Team respond with? There's no Jawhead, there's no Tigreal.
Hylos? Do they just go a Hylos here? Or?
There's a Khalid, but did you still want to go for that? At the most, it's
Debut pick again. It's going to be an Akai. Wow.
That is an Akai roam.
oh okay.
You want to know the hero pool? I mean, there's a smile on his face. And we're going to have another new hero debut here. A whole lot of debuts this week alone in
Yeah.
week 2.
Back to back, Yawi picking up heroes for, I would assume, the right situation.
Yep.
We'll say that's true if they win.
If they win.
Yesterday was the R-Lot too, making its debut.
Yeah. There was an Arlot, there was a Novaria,
Today it's
Akai, Kadita, and Julian so far.
Yawi walked into this weekend saying, I'm just going to flex my hero pool.
and it worked so well for them.
Man was throwing arrows yesterday like it was Robin Hood.
Now he's spinning.
Now he's spinning like a Beyblade.
Beyblade! Dude, if I don't hear that at least once in this game, I'll be a little
I've
disappointed.
been getting into Beyblade X, if y'all don't know.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, all of us over here are feeling the Beyblade hype, but we'll see if it works this time around. It's down to one game in this best of 3 with Twisted Minds and TNC. Who will win this series? We're about to find out with these lineups once again. A very interesting pick. Now in the roam in the hands of Yawi. We'll see if he's able to pull it off, and Hajizi getting a signature pick even back in the day for him, this Kadita. And will MP the King actually be able to get the tempo that he's looking for on this very tempo-based hero, the Joy?
Yep, I was starting to think of that too, since the mere presence of an Akai kind of makes it harder for a Joy to engage. It's also the presence of a Badang, but at the same time, it's similar to the way how Ruby roams have been a lot more have been picked up a lot more often
For the
ever since
disruptive,
ever since
disruptive
the
nature.
Joy has been adjusted in some ways where it's more easy for you to disrupt the Joy whenever he tries to go in for the engage. But now it's an Akai, it'll be a much more ultimate dependent type of disruption. But knowing Yawi, I feel like he'll be playing the more aggressive Akai, going in for the setups rather than just waiting for something to happen and then going in for the counter engage.
Yeah, part of that too is, I mean, it's been a minute. You know, it's been a minute since we've seen really the Akai picked up once before, used in the jungle at one point, and then even the XP lane for a little bit, and then now even in the roam in certain players' hands like Yawi here. So I'm wondering really how they want to play a part of this, because they could use it in a couple different ways. And considering the fact too that you have a Badang with you, you have your Farsa to lay down some of the feathered airstrikes, you should be able to lock people down based on even playing into your Badang skill set. So I'm wondering what kind of magic they'll pull out of the hands here for TNC against Twisted Minds. Meanwhile, they're playing around with a lot of just mobility here. What is that? Reverse sweep?
Yeah.
I mean, he was sitting in the TNC side of the arena, so.
Yeah, they're just very, very supportive. The Phoenix Army, now more than ever.
This right here is still the Phoenix Army.
I always wondered, like, if I was sitting in the crowd, like, what would I show?
I know.
What?
I'd show
You what you would
pictures
show?
of my co-talents, stolen pictures.
Stolen photos? Do you have a lot of those?
Yeah.
Well, you know who's got a lot of stats? It's Hajizi. He's got 3 games played on this Canadian. Wait, only 3?
3.
For the all-time?
Oh, and it hasn't
Wow,
had
what is
that
that?
much
Wait.
of a...
To be fair, he's played a majority of his early career as a jungler,
Yeah.
and then as a roam/mid, and then a roam/mid again.
Well, he's got 3 games played. I feel like I've seen him play it more than that, but maybe not. But this time we'll see if he's able to go ahead and pump out that burst that we're used to seeing with the Kadita.
Oh, which reminds me, Yawi used to
Whoa.
play that hero too.
Look at this Zaida already vertical jungling. He's crossing over, and he went in unpunished, giving TNC a 500 gold lead.
Wow.
For nothing.
wonder what the idea there was for Twisted Minds.
I mean, right now, Escalera kind of already has information, but he's already done what he has to do. So now checking out the items, and I mean the emblems, Hajizi, it's been a while, so we're seeing Rupture, Pull Yourself Together too. So we might be seeing a lot more Petrify combinations come in. You would really want to keep interrupting TNC from getting their momentum. But this is a Flicker Akai too
Whoa.
that we're talking about.
Yawi headbutting into that brush, forcing out a response. I think Twisted Minds was ready to collapse on him too.
Yeah, they're ready for it. Again, leading into this first turtle. A lot of kind of back and forth. Lancey almost with the level 4 should have a feather airstrike by the time this fight breaks out, unless. But Escalera will try to delay it. Takes a lot of shots.
No, Escalera down to a fifth of his health. MP the King looking to clap back. A lot of damage onto MP. And that's Lord JM flickering back. Doesn't go through the wall just yet. A lot of old spent there.
Yeah, and Yawi's already level 4, so all the while that was happening, he wasn't there. He was getting his level 4. And fortunately for TNC, they were safe, no casualties whatsoever for Twisted Minds, and all ultimates were wasted for Twisted Minds since they weren't able to necessarily get a kill.
Clean scramble, leading to TNC getting a free turtle. They got that like that.
They got it like that because of the fact that Twisted Minds just really didn't connect on what they were looking for, and they might have, attempted at least utilizing the ultimates they had, and once they lost all of them, TNC just knew, all right, we can go ahead and just clear this objective out. That they do. And so they hold on to a very minor lead right now. Twisted Minds still not too far from being able to set things up as we take a look at just how they rotate up here. Yawi's been given a lot of information too, but I would say at least for MP the King, he's pretty much keeping up this game. This game, at this point, in the previous game, he was already falling behind. So as long as he continues to farm up, he's even got just, he's able to secure his buffs alone. The damage from a Joy has been pretty crazy when you look at the games when it's picked up. And so with that kind of speed, that kind of mobility and damage, Twisted Minds might be able to win the next turtle.
Oh no, Zaida jumps on Hajizi!
Wow.
The young Salik Imam didn't see that coming!
He was left alone in the mid lane, and I mean, we were supposed to, or I was supposed to mention too, that yeah, aside from the fact that MP the King can be able to keep up a bit more in this game, he can be playing a lot more connected alongside Escalera with the setups, and those are some of the possible plays from Twisted Minds, but not hopefully at the expense of always leaving Hajizi alone. TNC have been getting the kills onto this mid laner. He hasn't been setting up the surprises just yet, even on the Kadita.
Yeah, I think part of this too is just you're the dead lane and the XP lane for now, but it looks like Hajizi goes there. He might be setting up a pick here in the bottom.
Oh no! How about this? Lord JM flickering back, survives with the extra shield provided by his skills. Thank God for the Badam's passive, he lives.
And now you don't have rough waves, so that's information that TNC can just go get this turtle.
And another sequence of plays that allow for TNC to get a Lord from underneath Twisted Mind's nose. Because they were fighting elsewhere, the objective is free, but Twisted Minds does wail away at the gold down in the XP lane. That allows for them to equalize, but how is Lord James doing this? How is he taking out two dudes at once?
He's literally just hanging out there. How is he still there? They might go for it again.
One more time, round 2, fight. Cracking him, breaking him, and he still lives!
Oh, man.
Twisted Minds, they're settling for the trades, but even then, they aren't able to make the most out of it. It's actually TNC Brody who might be the ones to get a turret off of Twisted Minds first. Lord JM on the Badang. He doesn't seem to be threatened at all. And Yawi's been doing a great job, even on the Akai, just making sure that everyone in Twisted Minds is within vision.
It's crazy because what Yawi's mostly doing is just staying in bushes. Like, he's just prepping the headbutt. There is going to be a conceal. There's a jump, though. Wings by wings on out, and there's the response, Yawi.
Yawi looking for one flicker, and a heavy spin, serving up James for the rest of TNC. Lancey goes down, traded out 4, and away the dragon by Escalera. Goes in very low, does back off, fires up a few more shots, serving up a kill to Zaida. Traded out 4, 2 for 2 so far, and now he lives, but just barely.
Oh, that was a close call too for Yawi. But Lancy and Zaida are down. Those are two important members from TNC. And MP the King, he was just able to dance so well around the members of TNC, using the electrifying beats right in time to take down these two key members. Even had GZ prior to that fight, which happened near their tier 1 turret, his timings on the rough waves, it was just perfect. It was timed at a moment where Lancy had no purify.
Whoa!
But speaking of Lancy,
Speaking of Lord JM, oh, more action up top. We didn't see it coming. Kozen goes down. What is going on?
Lord JM he took down the mid turret. He kills MP the King. Well, look at this guy. Who's gonna stop him right now?
okay.
Well, Twisted Mind's gonna try. He's got 3 on his tail. Yawi pushing back on him. Escalera here, sandwich between members of TNC. Zaida secures the turtle first before the fight breaks out. Yawi with a heavy spin, putting him up against the wall, looking for that spin finish. He gets knocked up, taken down nearby, outplayed. Third airstrike pushing back the rest of Twisted Minds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yawi does go down, but at least, Twisted Mind gets a kill there.
Yep, he just probably really blocked off the way. There weren't enough members, or there wasn't enough damage yet from TNC to take down James, which was the one targeted with the heavy spin. But then Escalera was there too, trying to zone or actually get some information from TNC. It just keeps on repeating. The fights are getting separated, and that does not favor Twisted Minds at all.
It's crazy because of just how much damage Lord JM's doing at this point in the game. He's got Oracle, he's got the Thunderbelt, right? And he's a threat. And he's gonna go ahead and stay on this side of the jungle with the rest of TNC. And they want to make the work happen here, all ready for this buff.
Escalera here tries to catch Lancy, no dice. He gets punched into a wall, serving up a kill to Kozen. And that's Hajizi finding Kozen, walking away like a smooth criminal.
Yawi didn't even use his heavy spin during the entire time. It feels like for TNC, the person assigned to either disrupt and defend or protect his teammates is mostly just really Lord JM. But he's doing more than just that. And Yawi always tries to reserve his skills, his ultimate, to engage and to set up against a member or two from Twisted Mind. So it hasn't reached a point where TNC are forced to use their skills defensively. They're playing this exactly the way they want to.
Yeah, it's funny because literally Yawi is just cosplaying like a ward right now. Like he is just Vision, and he even went the Athena Shield first item because the most threat over here is literally Hajizi for him right now. And he can go ahead and continue to build up these defensive items, but now that the Lord is up, his defensiveness is going to help him out, but also just locking someone down at this angle. The odd angles we're so used to seeing Akai's find. And with the help of having Lord JM and the massive amount of damage Lord JM's been able to do, that's something that Twisted Minds has to watch out for. There's Yawi just checking things out. Tina Shield there to help him out, so still no commitment just yet. We'll spot out two from the upper side. They might press the go here on the Lord now, though.
Lancy presses the button here, firing off, gets cancelled. The AOG purifying out of that one. In comes Escalera. James down to 5th of his health. They find Escalera. Kozen gets a kill, outplayed as well. Way in the back line, finds Lancy. Yawi chasing him with a spin. Twisted Mind secures the Lord without a trade, though. Taken down, outplayed. Who is this? All the way back. Oh my God! James goes down. And Haji's still alive, but just barely. 4 for 1. And a Lord. Twisted Minds walking away. I'm not too sure they're happy with that.
Yeah, it took so much from TNC to get to shut down Outplayed, who was able to use the heavy crossbow in a almost perfect position. But just the same, even despite that Lord secured by Twisted Minds, it cost them 4 members. Then TNC are now just able to clear out the Lord even before it gets to do anything to any of their turrets. So Twisted Minds aren't able to do much with this Lord. And looking at the instant replay, the fight was kind of separated. It started from when Escalera was able to go in with the flicker Jeet Kundo, but not pursuing the targets, not going in for the way of the dragon. He didn't seem to find the right person, and from that point onwards, Twisted Minds was just unable to respond, and they were unable to carry out whatever he started.
Yeah, and again, even as we take a little breather here, even with that Lord, it cost them so much, and they didn't get anything. They don't have any turrets resulting into that. It was all cleared out, and at that point, Twisted Minds, when you look at that team fight, it just wasn't. It wasn't the right of choreography they were looking for. The plan was there, but it didn't work out.
But at least now, approaching the late game, their fight looks better. It seems like if they lean into TNC's initiations, TNC overshoots themselves. That's what that looked like to me, that last team fight. If they're able to overshoot where Yawi wants to position them, and they can compromise Lancey's feathered airstrike, then maybe that's a start.
I think part of it though too is in what we saw, like the plan there, and maybe they execute it better by the time they get to the next objective, is you have this huge distraction with the Avatar of the Guardian, right, with your Gataconcha, and that puts so much like eyes on that and where they're gonna go. Then Hajizi has his angle to come in and burst someone down. Hopefully he's able to find the right target and alleviate some of that pressure there, but the plan is obvious for Twisted Minds, and I think they have the advantage when it comes to fighting around the Lord Pit or around those objectives. But and the TNC is going to have to clean up their positioning when it comes down to it.
Yep. Honestly, Outplayed can do so much when it comes to getting Yawi's attention or the forcing out the crucial skills and abilities from TNC, because it feels like for the longest time, Yawi's been reserving that ultimate for the perfect
that's an
and
old
target.
Who was that?
It's a volleyball player, as far as I know. You were saying?
Yeah, I was talking about Yawi, and then I see a picture of Yawi with an old friend.
With someone he knew.
with someone he once knew. These fans.
Who is this? Is this Big Man Blastoise? I can't see it.
Home.
Is it Badanga Home?
Badanga Home.
Big Man Blast. I'm sorry, I've been seeing too much of that.
Yeah, Lord JM on the Badang.
Dude, again, Lord JM's Badang is crazy this game. I don't know the last time that I saw Badang like on the top of the damage charts, man.
And he's not even building damage.
He's not even building damage.
People just keep rotating towards him.
They're just like, here,
Yeah,
go ahead and just punch me.
Try.
And he keeps punching them back, but he lives.
Man, all the fist cracks and the fist breaks, man. Right now,
He's
too.
on his way to a brute force breastplate.
Yes. He is about as tanky as it gets on this Badang, still pumping out the damage. They're going to set up. We're still a minute and plus away from that Lord, so we'll see if TNC actually wants to go for a pickoff, or even if it's Twisted Minds. Escalera gets some information. He's going to be a little bit more risky here because he's got the immortality at least now. So far, it's just holding down the mid lane. That little minor advantage of keeping up that tier 1 turret, though. Twisted Minds might want to start taking some of these turrets down if they can.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the team fights that can happen later on, Twisted Minds right now, they are likely confident enough and equipped to really engage, look for the back lines, let Escalera do his thing, because MP the King will be able to provide the damage anyways. And once that happens, it wouldn't be so great for TNC to split up, unlike what we've been seeing in the previous games, because you would want the heavy spin to bring the opponents, or to put the opponents in a position that will be easier for your teammates to throw out the damage. But what has been happening is, if he either doesn't get the right targets, he gets the tanky ones, or he just uses the heavy spin and keeps trying to chase for either Outplayed or MP the King. But these two heroes are just so high in mobility, I don't think the heavy spin can actually keep up.
Okay. Lord is up now. Outplayed, picking up a Wind of Nature. Keep an eye on their positioning alongside Escalera. TNC knows it. They'll go ahead and check that side, keeping it together. Hajizi also ready to pull the trigger if they need to. They might do it here.
Escalera with a concealed play, pushing Lancey out of that brush. And the action by Yawi coming through. Lord J with a flicker of his own, does not pull the trigger. There's still massive ults here for both sides. Escalera pushed out. Saida wailing away at the Lord. James holding on his AOG.
They're going to go for it. Half health now on the Lord. Can they contest it?
Down to a 10th. Who's going to get it? Saida secures. Retribution. Hajizi. Pop by Lancey. Point black feathered airstrike. Double kill for Lancey. Escalera got to go down as well. TNC clean. Same for Yawi. He gets a spin finish on him. 1 point for Twisted Minds as TNC march down mid.
Kozen did such a great job poking Outplay, forcing him to retreat and regain some HP before re-engaging, but it was too late for the Twisted Minds.
This could be the end angle.
They're going for it. Like a phoenix rising through the flames. MP the King down. They're going to go for it. An extreme finish. Violence upon Twisted Minds base. There's still minions left. TNC taking their time.
They're still in the game. They're still in the game. They're going to clear out the Lord here. But TNC gets 2 of the base turrets. Not sure if they get that last one. But it looked really dicey there for Twisted Minds. Able to stay in the game, but man, TNC with a dominant team fight.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to worry about the damage coming in from Twisted Minds anymore. Again, going back to the idea that once Lancy was able to spot out both Escalera and Outplayed, since they were together earlier, then Kozen was just able to constantly throw out the Death Sonatas, make sure that Outplayed wasn't full HP anymore, wasn't comfortable enough to engage in the team fight, which was about to happen in the next few seconds. So just as Outplayed was trying to regain some of his HP, targeting some of the jungle creeps, that was when TNC decided to engage. It wasn't even perfect for them. There was a flicker fist break from Lord JM which did not entirely connect. But once they were able to out-sustain or stay longer in the fights, once they were the ones who had the higher damage output, then it just worked so well for TNC.
Yeah, with this lead that they have themselves now, it looks like they at least just want to get this last turret, and then I expect them to go set up the Lord about a minute away. Feathered airstrike being used artillery-wise. Conceal's going to be used.
Yawi looking for the
Escalera.
catch here. The flank by Twisted Minds. Is this the one they wanted?
Haji.
Heavy spin coming through. MP the King dealing a lot of damage. Yawi displacing MP the King. The King falls. A kick by Escalera. Zaida taken down. Double kill for Outplayed. Down goes Yawi. Down goes Jojo as well. Outplayed not going to survive. With the nature not going to help you against these two. Kozen is a maniac.
Kozen is online with a maniac, and you see the cam in the room. They're ready to go for the victory.
That's the last inhibitor in the pocket. A burst finish by TNC on the horizon. Hajizi fighting for his life, holding through by Lord JM. And underneath the base, some minions, some damage. AOG from James. It's not gonna last longer. TNC continuing to rise 2-1.
The TNC Pro Team will maintain their streak now at 3-0 after the victory against Twisted Minds.
A maniac to finish off the reverse sweep. What a way to close out the series.
With a groove and flair to finish on top. Did you see the move?
Ooh, the moves and grooves. Great, I can't wait to look at that again, that last team fight. I mean, I'll probably go and look at it myself.
Thought you meant the dance.
The dance too, the team fight. That last interaction was so good, and the fact that the whole time Kozen was protected is what really highlighted there.
I mean, if I was Haji, right, I would see a stationary Farsa. I'd want to go for it. But it wasn't anywhere near Kozen, and Kozen was just free. Oh.
Again, great sportsmanship here. Yes, we built this up as, you know, it's a feud-fueled matchup. But again, much respect to all the players here between each other. You can see it on stage.
Yeah.
Just an amazing game.
I didn't see a feud, man. I saw friends. This was one hell of an exhibition.
Put them on Family Feud. Friends Feud. Put them over there.
I don't consider the recalls as something.
You don't do that yourself, Brigida?
I do.
You don't spam the recall?
Against people I don't know.
At your friends, is what I'm saying. Your friends.
Yeah.
You know, when we play against each other, we all bring those out. And of course, Dogi there up in the front. He's got to be feeling pretty good, man. TNC, when was the last time? I feel like, I don't know. I'm sure the stats guys are on that we've seen them 3-0 this early on.
Season 9.
We have
This early on? Oh, they were. That was
Even season 10 was a big question mark. And then onward. So
Yeah.
now is the closest to season 9. Early 2022. It's been 3 years Somebody put that picture away. It's been 3 years.
Gotta get rid of that picture, but again, a celebratory interview coming up here with TNC Pro Team and our host. Let's throw it over to the stage.
What a heated matchup! Your winners, TNC Pro Team! Buhay na buhay ang Phoenix Army. Did you guys like that win? Nagustuhan niyo ba yung panalo na yon?
Intense.
Parang may may dagdag na bigat itong laban na to at hindi ko alam